I want to say, first of all, thanks for having me, to Jeff and Lindsay at Perth County Moto, and for Matt, who set this all up and kind of made the connections. It's fantastic to be here and to see so many familiar faces and some new ones too. I'm really hoping that you enjoy my little story about motorcycles, racing motorcycles, and kind of my last 2.5 years of the fun and adventures and excitement in motorcycles. So we'll go back to the beginning. I am a 4th generation motorcyclist. My great-great-grandfather commuted to work on a 1930s Harley Davidson, and my grandmother, who is 95 and a half now, she couldn't make it tonight, she grew up around motorcycles, and in the 60s and 70s with my granddad, they started West Street Cycle in Brantford, where they sold a variety of different makes and models, but predominantly Yamaha and Velocet. And that is where my parents met. And so growing up, I was on little Yamaha bikes. I was on the back with my dad at Mostport there. Every summer we would go to the Vintage Festival to enjoy the races, and my uncles raced, our neighbors raced, our friends raced. So it was such a wonderful community experience to go as a little kid and all the way up through my teens. When I was 6, I think, I got my first motorcycle. My birthday's in February, so weather be damned, we got that little PW running, and we're firing it, or we ran it around the little triangle on the crescent where I grew up, and then moved up to a TY80 when I was about 7, 8. And that bike was a big deal because it had gears, which if you start riding a bike as a kid, when you get your first bike with gears and a clutch and you have to figure that out, it's a big deal. In my teenage years, I kind of gave up motorcycles and got into horses, and enjoyed some amazing partnerships and competition throughout mostly Southern Ontario, but competed at the provincial level and learned a lot about self-discipline, about dedication, about work ethic, and I got to spend that time with my mom as well, which was an absolute joy. Then in my 20s, I ended up in a relationship with a guy who raced motorcycles and was extremely successful at it. And so we traveled in the States, in Europe quite a bit, and I was his pit crew and got to see racing from a new perspective, closer to the edge of the track, in the paddock, helping out. And I absolutely loved it, of course. It was just the next step of my experience with bikes. I started to collect some Yamahas throughout my 20s, and I still have them today, just a small collection, mostly early 70s stuff, mostly 2-strokes. But I've got the XS 650 as well. They all have a special place in my heart, and absolutely one of the highlights is taking my grandmother for a ride. That's her in the middle there, a few summers ago. Riding vintage bikes is awesome, but it was time to get something modern. So in 2019, I picked up a used WR250R and started to adventure ride on it. One of the first trips on it was to go to Baja, Mexico, and go up and down the peninsula. That was a blast and also extremely challenging. Getting stuck in the mudflats in the desert is definitely an experience that I don't really want to repeat, but it all builds character. When I turned 30, it was a bit of a moment to reflect on life. And I thought to myself, there are a lot of things I'm doing that are fun and cool and exciting, but I know that I'm not facing all of the challenges and fears head on. So I decided, I've been on the sidelines for long enough. I need to get out on the track on a motorcycle and on a sidecar, which was my childhood dream. So I did. I signed up for the fast riding school and got used to 2 wheels on track. And then I signed up for the Vintage Road Racing Association sidecar school, scared the shit out of myself on Matt Gill's sidecar, and had a talk to him. It was actually, yeah, it was quite alarming. I didn't really realize that the whole point of the sidecar is to kind of go sideways and not just turn like you would with 2 wheels or even 4 wheels. Well, you can go sideways in a car too, but it was a little bit freaky. And after I asked him to stop so I could get off and like take a breather and not throw up, I had a little conversation with myself and I said, listen, you wanted to do the things that scare you. So either you're doing it or you're quitting. And I'm not a quitter, so I got back on. That same year, I paired up with lifelong friend Gary McCaw, who bought his first motorcycle at the age of 16 from my grandparents in the 60s. And I started racing his 250 Ducati. It's a 1966 Mach 1, heavily modified for the track. And we had some wonderful successes in our first couple of years. It was pretty cool to be at Mosport racing bikes after having grown up there, watching the races and lusting after, you know, that kind of thrill. And it's also pretty cool that both of these bikes I'm sitting on were gifts from Gary. So I thought that was pretty cool. Not that I own this. This is very much Gary's bike, but it was very, very cool to kind of feel that full circle thing. So after we raced the Ducati for a couple seasons, we ended up pulling his 500 Velocette out of bins and putting it back together and racing that, which was a completely different machine. Much heavier, much torqueier, lots more speed power. So it took some getting used to, but we did quite well for a few seasons on that bike. And I absolutely loved it and was fortunate enough to have Douglas McRae take this photo of me and the bike before he passed away, which I have printed almost too large to fit on my walls at home. Absolutely love it. Also got the chance to actually race a sidecar with a friend from Ottawa, John Wilson, who's a very experienced pilot. And his totally custom built rig is a Triumph 650 punched out to a 750 with a reverse head. And like he designed and welded and built the frame, like everything about it is super unique and kind of steampunk crazy. He's a bit of a Renaissance man. So we had a lot of fun with that for 3 seasons. And I thought I would give you a little taste of what not to do on a sidecar. I liken it to those bird feeders where when the squirrel jumps on, it spins. Very similar sensation. No, the coming off part is really not ideal. Yeah, I wouldn't recommend it, although we got off really lucky that he was quick on the brakes and I was quick on my feet. And nobody was coming up behind us, which was great. But yeah, it's certainly a thrilling sport being on the side of a sidecar and jumping around and being ballast, and it's a very important job. But the biggest part of the job is to stay on. So thankfully that only happened once. So the cool thing about John's rig, yeah, I'm really small, which is tricky when you're trying to balance something as large and heavy as a sidecar. So what John did was he took measurements of my legs and my arms before he built the actual sidecar, and he made the platform wider so that it would get me out farther, so that it would increase my slight weight advantage. So it worked okay, but as you saw from the earlier picture, we caught some air a few times, for sure. So we did VRA racing on vintage bikes for 6 years, had an amazing time, and then an opportunity came to me that I kind of didn't expect. Friends of mine asked if I had heard of the Build, Train, Race program with Royal Enfield. And I had heard of it, but not very much. And they said, you know, you should try it. You should apply. So I thought, all right, what do I have to lose? It's late February. I don't have any big plans for the coming race season. I'm going to give it a try. So I put together my application and sent it in. Does anybody here not know what the Build Train Race program is? I'll give you a quick rundown. So essentially, it's a fully sponsored factory race team that races with Moto America in the States. Moto America is the highest level of racing in North America. Not to say that I am the highest level of racing in North America by any means, but some really accomplished riders, amazing tracks. And Royal Enfield gives the riders their own Continental GT650. As part of the team, with the help of team mechanics, we chop the bike up, rebuild it as a race bike. We don't touch the engines, but we do suspension. We do 17-inch wheels because it comes with 18s. We do all the body work. We do ergonomics, fittings. We hack the electrical system out to simplify things. And exhausts. We do an aftermarket exhaust. And then they turn into quite amazing little classically styled race motorcycles. And then, of course, we go out and we race a dozen of us on the team against each other at these amazing tracks and vie for the championship. So all of this was totally over my head, but sure, I'll throw my hat in the ring. Let's see what happens. So I applied at the end of February, and about 2 weeks later, I got a reply and had an interview with the team managers. And a few days after that, they sent me a message and said, okay, you're on the team. And from there, it was a complete whirlwind. Just a couple weeks after that, we were flown down to Texas, the 60 riders. The gal in the middle is the returning champion rider from the year before. And we built our bikes in Texas over 4 days, very long days. And then we spent 2 days on track at a little rented track that they had there, learning how the heck to ride them. I had never been so exhausted in all of my life. But we made it through and got to know the bikes just enough to head to our first race weekend a few weeks later at Road America, which was crazy. We trained with Freddie Spencer. He is the poster boy, I guess, for the program, which is absolutely amazing and gives the program such huge credit. And he does such a great job of being part of the team and bringing us together. It's such a privilege to be able to train with someone who's a three-time world champion. But not only Freddie, we also train with other longtime riders who are national champions from the States in various classes. So the amount of knowledge that is the amount of information that is given to us and the amount of knowledge that we gain it's mind-blowing. I honestly got there, and at our first training, I was like, wait a minute, I don't think I actually learned how to ride a motorcycle properly because I never learned any of this. So it was a total game changer and has improved my racecraft immeasurably. So the first BTR season in 2023 was a total blast. Sometimes I was middle of the pack, sometimes I was back of the pack, didn't really matter. We were just out having fun, and there was pretty much always somebody to dice with, which was awesome. It's a little strange to be autographing posters and having people come up and asking you for autographs. That took a little getting used to. The coolest part was hanging out with the kids, the young ladies who would come up to the tent, and they're just like, wow, you're all women and you're all racing, and this is my favorite class, and they're cheering us. It's just the coolest thing to be a part of something so inspiring for others. So I really loved that. I was the only Canadian on the team in 2023, so I had to represent with my Canadian flag stickers and my Canada socks, which I wore for every race, all the time. And yeah, the debriefs, like Freddie was always there after every time we'd go on track, we always would have a debrief. Okay, what were you working on? What do we need to improve? Let's talk about that. Sometimes it's a little hard for him to translate his super high level thinking of racing down into terms that we can understand, but we generally would get there, or one of the other instructors would come by and be like, oh, he means this. And we're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. The final race of the 2023 season was an absolute riot. I got to battle it out with two of my friends on the team, Emma, who's number 42, and Nicole, number 11. We were back and forth every lap, and over the line, we were 0.3 of a second apart from one another. I think we were battling for like 7th place. Like, who cares? It was the funnest race of the whole year and such a great high to end on. Definitely the most important part of racing first season with BTR was the people. It's really cool when, I mean, we all know this because we're all in motorcycles, so you know that you meet the most amazing people on motorcycles, and it's just like instant connection. But when you're racing, I think it's even more kind of sticky. I don't know, like you just connect with people even quicker and at an even higher level. Like these folks are so passionate about what they do that you just have so much in common. You speak the same language, you think the same. It's really, really cool. So I wrapped up 2023 by spending an exorbitant amount of money going to Barber. The Barber Vintage Festival, I'm sure some of you have heard of, is like the biggest vintage race in North America. It's absolutely incredible. And I had been there before as a spectator, but I'd never been there to race. And so I was hell-bent on getting there. And they even offered a Royal Enfield class. So any Royal Enfield rider or graduate could come bring their bike and join the races. So I trailered my bike down. And I also went down with a friend's MT 125R and had an absolutely amazing weekend. Maybe a week before, I got a message from someone on a sidecar saying, "Hey, I don't have a passenger. I heard that you know how to passenger a sidecar. Will you be my passenger?" So I was like, okay, sure. You could say monkey. Never met the guy before. Asked somebody else if they knew him. They said that he was an okay guy, so I hopped on and we had a great time and we're very successful. Totally crazy guy, but it was a blast. And then another person sent me a message on Facebook and said, "Hey, I heard you really like TA 125 Yamahas. I've got one. Do you want to ride it?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I want to ride it. It's my dream bike." So I rode it and we bumped it up to the 250 class and ended up winning. So that was like another highlight for the end of the season. It was such a riot. If any of you haven't been to Barber yet, I highly, highly recommend it. It's, what is it? October 1st to 3rd or 1st to 4th this year. It's like the most beautiful golf course park plus the best motorcycle museum probably in the world at this point, with the most incredible racetrack, and they do parade laps throughout the weekend, so you can actually get out and see what it's like. It's phenomenal. If you had millions of dollars and you just wanted to create something incredible for motorcycles, this is what you would do. So I'm glad somebody did, because I don't have the money. And these are my BTR friends that came out. We raced together. It's an awesome time. So 2023 was a huge race season, the best I'd ever experienced, and it left me kind of hankering for more. So I made some pretty big plans for 2024. I decided that I would take the summer off to race, so quit my job, hop on my car, and drive from race to race to race, and insert a big solo adventure motorcycle trip in the middle of that too. So it was ambitious, but unfortunately it didn't exactly start off the way I was hoping. We did training in March and April down in Texas again for our second season of BTR, and it was going really, really well until it wasn't. And it was this turn where I unfortunately low-sided and my hand got caught under the bike. And we slid about 25 feet across the tarmac with my hand being ground into the pavement. And although that's a decent glove, it doesn't hold up to that kind of exposure, let's say. So it went through the glove, through my skin, through the tendon, and into the bone. And I was able to get to the ambulance, get to the hospital. They stabilized my hand, and I flew home the next morning. I did not want to incur the costs of surgery in Texas. Just the ambulance ride was over $7,000 for a 20-minute ride. So you can only imagine. So no, they cleaned it, and then they stitched it very, very loosely. And then because this, like, if you don't have an extensor tendon, like, your finger doesn't straighten. So they straightened it kind of, and then like put it in a splint, and then wrapped my hand up in this big ball, and then said, off you go. And airports don't really care for that sort of thing, because apparently this is just a ball of drugs. Certainly not just a hand that's been injured. So that was fun.
It's really goofed up still. Like, it's twice as big as it.
Yeah.
Well, it never gets.
No.
It always look like that.
This is the best it's ever going to be. So, flew home. My mom and dad picked me up at Pearson Airport and took me straight to St. Joe's in Hamilton, where I went straight to emergency and like straight into surgery, essentially. And they fixed it up. The cool thing is some of us have extra parts. So you may notice that you have 2 tendons in your wrist. Those come in handy when you blow these ones, apparently. So they took one from here and sewed it in here. And I am very, very fortunate to have a finger that mostly works now, and I can ride a motorcycle, which is really the most important part. But yeah, so a bit of a process and not exactly the plan. So what that meant was that the first race of the season, I was out on the sidelines. But I did get to go, and I got to cheer on my friends, which was awesome in its own way. And I would say it probably took till about 6 weeks before I could really do anything with my hand. And until then, it was mainly just flipping people off, which nobody seemed to mind that much, which was great. If you do it with a smile, right? So I thought, you know what, this is getting better, and I don't really want to just sit around all summer, so I'm going to keep going with my plan. So I quit my job. I worked at Dual Sport Plus in Brantford. Awesome bike shop. Awesome like this bike shop. Quite a bit different. Said goodbye to the guys and jumped in the car with my WR on the back and drove from Brantford to Seattle, Washington, where our next BTR race was going to be in June. And had a lovely adventure all the way across. Ended up taking my bike for a couple of rides before getting there. Definitely, I mean, what could enhance scenery better than that motorcycle? It's gorgeous. So lots of fun on the way across. The Ridge Motorsports Park around with BTR was completely, don't even need to mention how awful that was. I did terribly. I crashed. I messed up my shoulder. And then I had to hop on my bike for the next month and a half and be okay with that. So that was okay. We got through it. I ended up going down the coast and headed inland to Crater Lake, where my parents had been 9 years before. And I wanted to see this amazing place. So I tried to find the same spot for a picture. And one of the coolest things is that along the ride down the coast, I met some really neat people. And the people on the left, who I just happened upon while hanging out on the beach, looking at the Pacific, they struck up a conversation with me and they said, "Hey, is that your bike in the parking lot?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "You came from a really long way." I'm like, yeah, it's been a bit of a ride so far. And I said, "Are you into motorcycles?" "Oh yeah, we've got an old BSA and a Velocette." I'm like, "Oh, that's cool. My parents have a Velocette." "Oh, neat. Have your parents ever done a Velocette rally?" "Yeah, they did." "Have you ever been on the cover of the Velocette owner's newsletter?" "Yeah, I was." "We know your parents. We did a rally with them. We know who you are. We've seen you." And I'm like, what? You know, I haven't like seen people in 2 days, and then I come upon this. It's the coolest thing. Ended up going for a ride with the San Francisco Motorcycle Club, which is like the oldest operating motorcycle club in North America. Super awesome group of people. We rode way too fast on awesome twisty roads in California. It was a riot. Ended up hanging out with a group of cyclists doing 100 miles a day in a campground there. Had an absolute blast with them. It's just so cool when you're traveling, the people you meet, especially when you're by yourself. People just come out of the woodwork. It was really a very positive thing. One of the highlights of the trip was definitely seeing the redwoods. I don't know if any of you have seen them yet, but make a point. It's an experience. Yeah, it's spiritual. Kept going down the coast and got myself to Laguna Seca, where there was an armor race. And this was pretty much as far south as I went. And I had arranged to have a couple bikes to ride with someone else's machines. And I arranged for someone else to bring my leathers and someone else to bring this and someone else. It was a bit of a scheduling, planning jigsaw puzzle, but it all worked out. And holy moly, like what a cool place to be. So I got to race Dave Rhodes, who's in the middle there. I got to race his TZ125 and his TA125 again, which I rode at Barbara the year before. And we had an absolute riot. It was super, super cool. Going through that corkscrew is like, it's really neat to be there and experience the thing that you've seen on TV a million times. So, so neat. We did hole a piston at one point, which was unfortunate, but we got it fixed up. And we were back on track the next morning. So from there, I headed inland, and most of Northern California was on fire. So that was a bit challenging at times, having to dodge wildfires, but it was part of the adventure. Ended up going to a really cool place just sort of northeast of LA, where they filmed Star Trek, which is not my thing, but I was in the area. And then continued inland to Yosemite, which is another place that I would definitely recommend you get to. It's another kind of mind-blowing, like, how does this exist in the world? It's so beautiful. And seeing it at sunrise is breathtaking. Especially if you've seen that movie Solo, with the fellow who climbs El Capitan with no ropes. And then you stand and you look at El Capitan, which is there, and you're like, no, it doesn't make sense. It really is so humbling to be in these places. So continued up, did Sequoia National Forest and Kings Canyon, did San Francisco. Had to actually do San Francisco twice, once on the way down and once on the way back, especially because I couldn't even see the bridge the first time. And if you're gonna go there, you have to get this picture. So that was worth it. It's also just a really cool city. And also another one of those mind-bending things where you're like, why, how does this work? Filbert Street is 31.5 degrees steep angle. And you're looking at it from the bottom on the bike and you're like, am I gonna make it? It's pretty cool. It feels like you're just going straight up. And I just enjoyed time being in the middle of nowhere. The city is cool, the city is great, but the best thing is just being kind of like nowhere with no one around, just get to hang out. You get smelling really, really bad, and then you find very cold streams to take baths in, but it's worth it. And I would say this is the best summary of the whole adventure trip. All of the wonderful foods I got to eat. Spiky gooseberries, blackberries like crazy, found some plum trees, raspberries, salmon berries, these peas, and then every chance I could get, I would eat ice cream. And my finger got better too, bonus. So I came back up to Seattle, put the bike back on the trailer, headed west again, east, the other way, east, and went to Mid-Ohio, which was our final race of the BTR season. Final race of my BTR career. Lots of emotions going into this one. And it was also kind of like the last chance I had to really prove myself. After all the time and effort and learning, it was like, okay, it's now or never. You got to get out there and you got to kick some serious butt. So I did. My teammates hunted me that entire race, and there was something about it that was different. I felt confident, and every time one of my teammates would go blowing by me into a turn or on the brakes or something, I'd be like, that's okay. I'm coming for you. You're not going to get this. And it was an epic race. I didn't win. I didn't even come second. I came third, and that was awesome. It was absolutely amazing to stand on that podium as I'd watched my teammates do for the last 2 years, and to just feel like I was floating. It was totally surreal. And to have a camera in your face and you're like, oh my God, this is what they trained us to prepare for and I'm not prepared. It's just the coolest thing. And to finally get one of the Dunlop yellow hats that a bunch of my teammates had that I was lusting after. So yeah, it was a hell of a way to end my BTR career and could not be happier with the results. But this was the icing on the cake. My parents came to the final race and my teammates were so thrilled. I mean, and that's the thing about BTR. It's about racing. And when we put our visors down, it's like watch out. We are vying for a win and we're not holding back. But when we're not on our bikes, we are such a supportive team for one another. And to finally feel that from the other side, you know, I was always the one giving my teammates a hug for their podiums, and to feel them doing that for me was just like, wow, so cool to have it come full circle. It was the moments under the tent that I think were the most powerful with BTR. The racing part is incredible. The thrill and the focus and the gains that you make and the satisfaction that it brings are so rewarding. But this was the stuff that was the coolest part, was hanging out with your best friends and helping them succeed. So this was our team at the final race. Just amazing people, our mechanics, our team managers, our facilitators. I can't imagine a better group of people, except for maybe all of you, sorry. No, it's the people you meet in motorcycles. They're just, I don't know, they seem to be a notch above, right? So we ended the 2024 race season with BTR and was sort of like, okay, what do I do now? This is going to be depressing, not going back to race with all my friends. But I did have some plans in place. I had applied to school last spring. I loved working at the bike shop. I love racing motorcycles, but it wasn't going to get me anywhere. So I decided that it's time for a second career, and I've gone back to school for psychology. And I started that in September, a couple weeks after the race season ended. Pretty freaky. Next plans for this year, which are already underway, is to continue racing with the Vintage Road Racing Association. And I'm campaigning Gary's 250 Ducati again, and we're hoping for a championship. And I'm also riding Paul and Sharon Boyer's MT125 in the featherweight class. And we're also hoping for a championship, fingers crossed. Going to be racing in the States later this season with my new friends at Arma and going fast on little bikes. It's the best. And this is the newest addition to the plans, which is Matt's MT250, which he started building a while ago and got in touch with me and asked if I'd want to ride. And of course, as you can see, the theme of my life is, here's a motorcycle, would you like to ride it? And I always say yes. So I had to say yes. So we're hoping to debut this little bike at Mosport this year and, you know, give it a bit of a thrashing, see how it does. Break it in gently. Sorry, break it in gently. But I'm really excited. I mean, I've rarely seen a motorcycle so beautifully prepared, so I'm very scared to crash it, but we're gonna see if we can get it going pretty quick. So very much looking forward to that. And I've put the dates there. You can find them on vrra.ca as well, but you gotta come to the races. Man, what a great track to spectate at. Camping for the weekend is, I think, free with your admission. It's the best. I can't end this presentation without saying one very, very important thing. And that is that the incredible opportunities that I've been offered don't come out of nowhere. They come from people who are kind and generous. And there are a lot of them. So over the last few years, I have had an incredible amount of support. And every single one of these people, these businesses, these organizations deserves a huge, huge thank you for being part of this amazing journey. I mean, how lucky am I that I get to do the crazy fun thing that I do and that so many people are invigorated and behind me in doing it. It's the best. So that's it. Thank you so much for having me. And if anybody has any questions, I'm sure I left some stuff out or left some loose ends. Yeah. 15th to 17th. Is it on your calendar, Tim? It needs to be. Good. I will also be there.
So with the 2-year program with the build train race, is there anything after that, or kind of like the girls to go on to?
For graduates, so to speak? Yeah, so at the moment, there isn't anything in place for graduates. What the current management is trying to do is open up the class so that alumni can come back and race either, well, at the Moto America level. They'd have to pay their own way. They wouldn't have team support, but that they could come back and be part of things. And I think that would be really, really awesome. I'm sure that there are a lot of hoops to jump through in order to make it happen. Yeah, but the way BTR works is really cool. Like you get half of a new team each year. So because you're on for 2 years, let's say it's a dozen riders. I was one of the 6 new riders who came on with 6 previous riders. So those 6 previous riders showed us all the ropes, and we learned together and we grew together, and then they graduated, and then we became the 6 old riders who would mentor and show the new riders the ropes. So it's really, really cool, this progression thing. And I think that's really what's so important about it, is the essence of it is teamwork. The essence of it is sharing and supporting one another. That's just how they built the program. And it makes it just so rewarding. Absolutely love that about it. So many things I love about it, but that's one of them. Yeah.
So Holly, are you doing any instructing at all, like at the race schools as well?
I have been, yeah. So the last couple of years, I've been one of the lead instructors with the Vintage Road Racing Association School, which they hold every May at the first event. And that's been really, really rewarding. I'm really enjoying being on the other side of things. And I mean, I don't have anything official set up, but anytime anybody wants some coaching, I absolutely love jumping in and giving them a hand. At Calabogie last weekend, for our second round, there's a new rider from Quebec, and she's really interested in actually joining BTR. So we talked a lot about that, but we did all kinds of coaching around the track, and she dropped her time by over 20 seconds, her lap time. So like, it's really cool, right? Like when you can talk to somebody and really get down to the nitty gritty, and that's really the thing I've gained from BTR, is like the deeper understanding of how to go fast. It's a science. There's a lot to it. And when you can share that with someone else and actually see the results, it's very satisfying. Yeah. So I hope to, in the future, continue with that in a more official sense. Yeah.
That's what you were saying earlier, Matt. You've been riding motorcycles your whole life, and then when you got there, and like all of a sudden this whole new world opened up to you. Like, I have no idea how to ride a motorcycle.
I had no idea. I had no idea. I got on a motorcycle and raced with Gary, and we did okay. Like, we did quite well. And I was like, oh, this is cool. But I never learned the science of it. I never learned the physics of it. And one of the very first things we learned with our BTR instructions was just traction and the physics of traction and how important that is. And I'm like, I've never really thought about this. All I know is when it rains, it's slippery, and the rest of the time, you're usually fine. So I was like, you have to load the front? What? Like, oh, okay. You have to use your brakes right like to the apex? Really? Oh, I should start to do that. Okay. It's like, yeah, very, very different. But knowing that, and it doesn't matter if you're on the track or not, when you understand the science and the physics behind riding a motorcycle, you have such an advantage because you understand how much control you really have and how important it is to be perfect on your inputs and to really pay attention and really develop that feel and know what you're feeling. So yeah, super, super cool. Yeah. That went faster than I thought.
We could probably sit here for a couple hours listening.
We could.
What size was the Royal Enfield that you used? What size was it?
So it's a 650 twin, parallel twin. It's a fun motorcycle to ride. It's torquey, but it's heavy. and it only comes with 47 horsepower out of the crate. So these are not race machines, so to speak. I think we do a damn good job of making them go pretty fast, but what you learn riding a bike like that is things like roll speed, like corner speed is really, really important. And being able to, not overbrake. Make sure that you're on the gas as early as possible. I mean, it's very smooth delivery, so high sides are pretty rare. They have happened, pretty rare though. So those learning to ride a bike like that it's a challenge in a different way from something with like lots of horsepower.
I'm a young guy. I helped him race. This was me back when I was maybe 20, 21. And he had only been maybe 17 or 18, Jim Dennis from Forest. He bought an RD 350, and there was a class for him at that time.
Mhm.
And he did pretty well, but we didn't glue cut him like a lot of the guys. They didn't want the compression touch and clean the ports. So in a wet race, he was right in front because he was actually quite talented. But in other races, the guys would roll in the streets. But he worked hard at it. He lived in a van.
Oh,
To
gee.
go to the races and work part-time as a surveyor to make money to do this.
Yeah,
So the dedication was just,
I love that. There's a lot of passion behind motorcycle racing. It's amazing what people accomplish on a shoestring budget because they just freaking love it. And I mean, I love the racing part, but it's the people part for me that really clinches it, I think. But I love that, yeah. You make do with what you got.
people are still doing it. I have some people close, they're doing ice racing with rubber tires, with three-wheelers, mostly in the States.
Mhm.
And they're enjoying it, and so you don't need a lot of power, it's all about traction and maintaining it again. People are trying to get around that track. This is about a 400 Yamaha Suzuki's about all you need.
I personally agree. Yeah. I mean, sure, we can go 300 kilometers an hour in a straight line, but I don't know. I'd rather go fast on something like this and get the thrill of getting the corners right. That's the fun part to me. Yeah.
Did you get to keep the Royal Enfield?
We do get to keep our bikes. Yes. Yeah, part of the deal with Royal Enfield is they give you the bike, you start chopping it up, and then it's yours. So I did get to keep my bike. Right now, it's just something to look at, but I'm hoping to take it to Mosport and at least run it in practice or parade laps or something just to get it out there. It's kind of hard to find a class. This is why they need to open it up to alumni so that we can bring the bikes back and race them in the States. But I'll bring it to Barber this year probably and race it in their little feature class as well. So it'd be great to get it back out. Mm.
Any plans on driving a rig yourself instead of just hanging off the side?
A sidecar? No. No, I have no plans to drive a sidecar. I did get the opportunity to drive someone else's at the Grand Bend Festival of Speed last year, and that was really cool, and also enough. Yeah, I'd rather be the monkey, but also not being the monkey is nice because I can come home from the race weekend and not be black and blue. So that's great.
In your psychology course, are there any chapters on sidecar people?
There should be. There should be. Yeah. You know what though? I think the cool thing about, if we're going to get into psychology and sidecars for a second, which sounds really good, I like that. There should be a podcast about that. Sidecar racing is an exercise in trust. And I actually think that is a really amazing opportunity to have, to be able to go out on a racetrack and go as fast as you can with someone else that you 100% trust to do the right thing, make the right call, be in the right place at the right time. Like, it's not too often in life that we put ourselves at that higher risk with another human being and say, I got you if you got me. That's pretty cool. And I think that's part of why sidecar racing is such a such a strong and like emotional and connective sport. Like before the sidecar racers go out on track, we park our rigs, everybody gets off, and we fist pump and hug each other, every single one of us. And then we all get back on and we go out and we try to blow the pants off of each other. But it's such a team thing. It's such a community thing. And I don't know, there's nothing so crazy about that. It's just the, maybe it's just the risk that's the crazy part. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks so much for coming, everybody. This was really cool. I'm glad I got to tell my story to you all. I am so excited to see that bike in a few weeks. Yeah. I guess I got to sit on it and see how it fits. We could do that. Yeah. I'm going to shut this off for now.
Well, thanks for coming and doing this, Holly. We appreciate it.
Hey, thank you. Thanks.